Aloha and welcome to episode 30 of the official start of the season 3 of the Moana Nui podcast. Just a few announcements before we get started. The 4-page, 6-bar anthology featuring Wildcard Chronicles Kickstarter has officially started. So please, if you are looking to support a great upcoming comic, please definitely give your support and go to Kickstarter for that. Also, Nightfall #2 will be starting tomorrow on Kickstarter. So please be on the lookout to definitely support that comic also. And then also the Moana Nui podcast season 2 will be launching on Kickstarter on March 9th. So be on the lookout for more information coming out shortly in the next few weeks. And also, we will be having a special podcast panel on Tuesday, February 23rd at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We will have a panel of some phenomenal guests, such as Afua Richardson, Dedrin Sneed, Michael Watson, Tony Kittrell, and many more to discuss indie comics, the rise of Black and POC characters. And now, I am your co-host for the Moana Nui podcast. I'm Dana of Danique Events. You may know me from having seen me at different cons, events. I am a cosplay, staff con photographer, and much more. And also to introduce my co-host, the beautiful Moana.
Hi, everybody. Moana here. Thank you for joining us for episode 30. We're happy to have you guys listening. As you guys know, I am the author of the Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea series, the editor for the Wildcard Chronicles, and of course, the founder of the Moana Nui podcast. Tonight, we have an amazing guest, and Dana's going to tell you all about her.
All right. Our first guest of season 3 is Renee Cooper. She is a social butterfly that demands attention on both the digital and local scene. She has experience communicating with tens of thousands of customers through social media, email, text, and customer-facing marketing activations, while assisting with daily operations of dynamic local organizations. Renee's mild-mannered day job is the social media marketing industry. She is a social media manager and a digital marketing strategist. Her day-to-day goal is to inspire and build healthy marketing habits for any agency she serves, stressing the importance of connecting digitally, traditionally, and experimentally with marketing. She strives to encourage innovation in marketing technology while producing real, measurable, and impactful results from customers and clients. Renee is a shining media star on the weekends, engaging with Atlanta's fandom community through influential photos, videos, and local appearances. She's constantly eagerly supporting growing retail businesses, fan conventions, and artists by promoting consistent content, best practices, and paid social advertising strategies. She wears many different hats in this community: event coordinator, volunteer director for MomoCon and DragonCon, and Peachy Maid Cafe. She is the founder and head maid of Peachy Maid Cafe and is currently working to build her own live streaming brand, Peachy Con Princess, and her social media and marketing business, Peachy Maid LLC. She hopes to encourage fans to engage with more real-life experiences like conventions, not just through attendance and cosplay, but by supporting local creators, vendors, and performers. You can find Renee on Facebook or at www.facebook.com/WRENL ETTE. I apologize. Also, facebook.com/Peachy Made Cafe. She's on Instagram also for Peachy Con Princess. And she also have a website for which is www.peachymade.com. She's on Twitch too as Peachy Con Princess and on Twitter under Peachy Made. And with that, let's welcome our very first guest for season 1, Renee Cooper.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi. Oh my gosh, that was so cool to have you read that. I'm just like, dang, I did a lot.
Well, that's only the short version of all the amazing things that you do, and we can't wait for the audience to know more about who you are.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
And Moana's going to start off with our very first question for you.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay.
Okay.
My bad, y'all.
Hey.
Oh, we're so excited to have you, and I totally forgot to unmute my mic. But yeah, so as we start with each of our episodes, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you found yourself on, where did you begin your creative journey?
Okay. Well, I'm originally from San Diego, California. I lived there until about 96 when I moved to Georgia with my family. I didn't have a choice, and I hated it. I hated it in Georgia. The weather was terrible. It was in California. And so I kind of grew up just like any normal Black girl who possibly gets called out for acting white. So I really loved cartoons. That's always been a thing. I watch more cartoons than I watch real life shows. If you ask me about a popular real life show, I probably have not seen it or hadn't until much later in life. And, I grew up enjoying stuff like dressing up, like most people do, cartoons, got into anime and video games around high school more because I found more people were into it. Kingdom Hearts is my jam. And I found through Kingdom Hearts, there was a whole new stream of friends that I could learn to be cool with. Yu Yu Hakusho was also a jam. I made a lot of friendships off of that. Of course, Sailor Moon, but, I found more of, in Dragon Ball Z, I found more of really lasting friendships with people who liked a little bit more of the offshoot things that weren't the first or second thing on Toonami. So that actually taught me, I think it's an important part of the creative aspect of my life, but that taught me a little bit about like how to be not a bully. In high school, I remember having friends, making friendships with people who were not like the cool. I was never the cool person, but they're, in the mid-range of not uncool, but, not super popular. And there were people who probably could have been seen as less cool for things that they liked. And I was like, well, I also like those things. And that's just how it's going to be going forward. Me liking and talking to this person about the fanships that we made. So I learned a lot about that in high school. Went to college at Arizona State because I wanted to get as close to California as possible when I got out of high school. And ASU accepted me and lived there 3 years. It was wonderful. Made some really great friendships. Got a little bit more into the alternative scene. I had a very emo friend. I'm very thankful for a lot of my music concert experiences with him and them and that group. And realized I needed to finish school, came back to Georgia State, finished there, love Georgia State, I'm alumni. It was very easy. I was not there for a very long time, but not saying it was easy, but it was what was necessary. When I moved back, I started working at GameStop. And when I worked at GameStop, which is like every nerd's dream, was, now probably is again, my friends were like, have you ever been to Dragon Con? I was like, I've never heard of Dragon Con. And they're like, wow, you got to go. So somehow all of us did not have to work that weekend and went to Dragon Con and experienced just this, Mardi Gras of nerddom. And I was like, I have to do this all of the time. I saw amazing cosplayers. I met and made some amazing friendships. I understood the hotel, got to get a hotel, got to do, that whole concept was probably really added to my organizational skills, actually, and life skills. And I've been going ever since. And then from at DragonCon, I learned about MomoCon at Georgia Tech, and I had to go to that too because I needed more every year. Anime Week in Atlanta, and I started, I literally brushed off it's got to be from the 80s now, late 80s, early 90s sewing machine that I'd had, and started creating some terrible costumes with shiny satin fabric, and getting my mom to help and trying to sneak out of the house wearing scantily clad cosplays. But that really kind of unlocked this new creative avenue for me of dressing up and creation. And then again, just meeting a lot of people in different panels and different cosplay groups and finding like, this is my community. These are a lot of people who also grew up with the same thing. There were fewer, now way more, Black and brown people to be found in these places, but you would definitely find them there. And it was the place to know that there were Black and brown people interested in, my age range in gaming and anime and having these conversations and seeing people dress up. So, it was between, I guess, 2008 is when I moved back to Georgia. And now, really up until maybe like 2013, when I really started getting very involved in conventions, in like press and stuff, like that was learning more and more about the community and being more connected. Circa 2000 and I can't even remember, 9-ish, 10-ish, 11, 12, somewhere in that span, me and my friends started the Aficionados, where we would do a YouTube channel and we would talk about anime. I was the anime aficionado. We had a comic book aficionado, Mason, AJ. Derek was also my fellow anime aficionado. And we would just talk about nerdy stuff that we watched. We would do terrible reviews of anime and shows and things that we loved. Sometimes I would dress up. We had a cool comic book room, a couple different comic book rooms for our studios. And, from there, we're like, let's go to conventions as press. Let's cover this and get more content for our show. So we did that. Met some wonderful people who actually worked for the conventions, Dan Carroll being one of them. I will always, always, always say how grateful I am to him for my convention career as it is now. Him giving us the opportunity to be part of the, to give us press passes, basically, opened up, a realm of just accessibility and knowledge of the convention scene from a director and, like an internal standpoint. I learned how they were actually running conventions, and I love that. So, it's Mason. They weren't terrible, but like you've seen the pictures, Mason. So when opportunity came up, I was asked to actually kind of like take over what Dan does for Dragon and Momo, just for MomoCon. And now I'm the senior director of media for it, but I was the media relations director, and did that for about a year. And then they were like, hey, we also have an opening at the animation track for DragonCon. Would you be interested in that? And me and Jessica, J-Mom, so we call her. There's a couple Jessicas in the scene, but J-Mom, who's Red Jess, was the director of animation track. I was the second, and we had like 3 amazing years of like helping to do the programming for that track. And now I'm the director, that too. Yay. So it's like responsibilities, but it's been amazing because I find that the internal aspect of this is like the creative side was what got me into it and blossomed. But I find that a lot of the skills I use in my professional life help to make me helpful for these these events that I love so much and can help make them more accessible for other people who want to come to these events who may not have heard about it or don't know how to get into them. So that's been basically my con nerd life. And in the middle, I've worked in, social media and marketing positions that just really make me love and hate social media more, but know how to use it for, people who do go to conventions and, want to really promote themselves a little bit more than, if they have side businesses or small businesses or as artists. I don't know if they always want my advice. Some people will come and ask for it, and sometimes I'll just give it on social when I see something. That's probably not the best way to do it. But, I'm very passionate about making sure people know the accessibility is there for marketing and at all levels, because we're living in a time where like an artist, someone who's drawing and just selling stuff on Instagram, honestly has about the same accessibility to marketing tools that Coca-Cola has. And sometimes they may not know that, and while they may not have a budget for it, at least for the starting introductory aspect of it is there. So that's maybe in a nutshell me.
Wow. Since you mentioned about social media, people enjoy or have that love-hate relationship with social media on a personal level. But when it comes to the business side of using social media, that often leaves a lot of creatives lost and frustrated. What are 2 pro tips you can have for creatives, especially in an independent creative trying to build a social media and get their IP seen?
Okay, if I have to pick 2, the first thing that's kind of bouncing around in my brain to really say is to broadcast consistently. If you think about anything that you really enjoy, if it's a show, if it's a book series, if it's a movie, if it's a singer, what are they doing? How do you know about them? It's because they have an album and they have songs that are on the radio, they're played often, they have a TV show that comes on every Thursday. It's some part of what you're doing, you need to find a way to broadcast. And, static pictures are great. Instagram is great. That consistency can be just like online consistently. But I feel like right now, utilizing something like YouTube or Twitch or a podcast that you can stay consistent with within your means, if it's once a month, if it's once every 2 weeks, whatever you can do to be consistent, make sure you do that. So, people will know where to find you and how often to find you. And they see more of this or more of your art, whatever you're doing or painting, they can see more action than a static photo or a grid of photos may show. So broadcast consistently if you can. The second thing is to have an email list. People think email is dead or dying, and it's not. I think that you always have to have, maybe not saying have an email list, but have a way to contact people. And realistically, an email list is kind of like your go-to right now. It's something that people can give you and you can follow up with them more realistically. People can give you their Instagram, but you can't really follow up with an Instagram all the time quickly. It's a very isolated, like, oh, you got to send a message and things like that. You can't really broadcast through there. So, finding a way to get someone's email is always good, because email has so much power in the marketing space. You can, again, broadcast within, realistically, not spamming, but you can use tools and platforms to broadcast, again, regularly. Maybe that is your broadcast. Maybe that's, instead of a YouTube, you send out a once a month email that just talks about cool things that you're doing that month or tips and tricks for whatever industry. You can send discount codes. You can send sneak peeks of things. And if you ever do decide to run ads, unless they've changed this, you can upload those emails into like Facebook Business Manager or their ads manager and create a list very much similar to it, and also advertise to that list. So email has a lot of power to it. And I know firsthand that, especially if you have a product or something that's really sought after, when you send an email, you will see an increase in your, or any sort of blast like that, you will see an increase in the traffic to your site, in sometimes phone calls if that's what you're trying to do, but you'll see an increase in traffic because you are reaching a group of people at the same time. And not to be afraid of getting those emails, because if people don't want to be on your email list, they'll just unsubscribe. If they gave you the email, then that means that they cared. They wanted something out of that exchange. They're like, I get a free 10% off or whatever. And if they decide they don't want to be on the email list, they will take themselves off. And then that'll be it. You don't have to worry about it. They may choose to follow you somewhere else, but never be afraid of asking for people's emails, in return for something cool, even if that something cool is like, you get to learn more about me all the time. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I think some people myself too, like I have an email list, but my consistency there, like I need to be better. That's something I'm consistently working at. For me, my consistency right now is the podcast, but but yeah, definitely using the email list to grow the podcast as well. So I think those are some great tips that you provided for some of our folks who are listening. Kind of a follow-up to what you mentioned in the first question. There's a question from Mike Watson, and he's asking how could he, as an independent creator, pitch himself to a con through his social media?
Good question. So in a couple of the conventions that I've worked with that, first of all, I don't necessarily manage Artist Alley or like getting into the Artist Alley for conventions. So I'm only giving you from what I know from my colleagues. So don't ask me to help you. I won't be on that aspect of like getting you there. But overall, in general, what I've understood from the process, because I've also been this person, is you want to make sure that your social media is up to date. That's one thing. If you're trying to promote yourself anywhere, make sure that you have some consistent, like some recent posts that reflect the environment you're going to go into. So if you're trying to get into an anime convention showing art of like, what I'm trying to think of something that's like Baroque Renaissanceian statues, but but I don't see like Kaneda or like Sailor Moon or something, It seems a little like pitchy, but like if you're trying to get in somewhere and you want them to recognize you as somebody who's going to bring in an audience for their show, because that's what they're wanting, is someone who's going to bring an audience to their show as well. Try to promote some of that before you sign up for any sort of list and stuff like that. A lot of this is done through lists. It's not necessarily through social media. So you couldn't just like send a Facebook message. Don't send a Facebook message to like Dragon Con and be like, hey, I want to be in your Artist Alley. I mean, unless you just don't see a post about it. But, as things start going, check their page, get a little bit of information on the convention itself. And usually they'll say how to go about registering or getting on a list to be reviewed for either for programming, for art, whichever aspect you want to get on to. I know you said how to pitch yourself for a con. I said that as an artist, but even if you were doing media. So I would look at, again, recent posts, how consistent or how recent have you been posting on your YouTube channel or on your zine or on your website? And is this content that would benefit our convention if we let you come? And like I said, sometimes we're not always looking for like, okay, they have to be talking about nerd culture all the time. But, if I know that, I'm trying to think of something that's really, I'm good with examples sometimes. That's how I best express myself. But if we know that, like there's a lot of like R&B, anime R&B kind of like mashup musicians. And we see a lot of, R&B people are like, well, I'm interested in kind of covering this aspect of this fandom thing. Just have some sort of like succinctness about where you're trying to apply and what you are showcasing on your site. I think that I saw a follow-up question to that too. I didn't get to see what.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
How do I learn about that? The Starling introduction part or the likes of Coca-Cola. Starting introductory part of the. I'm kind of confused by the question. Sorry.
Oh, so he was referencing back to what you had mentioned about the accessibility of tools, that like an artist has the same access, and then maybe not the same budget, but kind of in that vein. I think that was where he was coming from.
Facebook Blueprint. Look up Facebook Blueprint. It's a free. It's free like learning resources and videos through Facebook. And if you want to advertise on Instagram, you have to have a Facebook account as of right now. So look up Facebook Blueprint. They have a lot of very good information. You can actually like take certification to be Blueprint certified. If you're not really into social media like that, I wouldn't do that. But the Blueprint is really helpful to show you what, how to use and why to use, and what is offered by just like Facebook advertising. And then anything else, like, I don't know if you know, but like places like MailChimp or Sticker Mule or some of these promotional places are used and have connections with some bigger brands. So get onto the email list of a platform that you're interested in learning more about. So I love Sticker Mule's emails because they're just like, hey, this is on sale. And then I'm like, yeah, I need stickers. And then, things like that. MailChimp, I promote them a lot for no reason. I don't work for them. I give them no money right now, but they give me no money. But their introductory emails, when you kind of sign up with them, can sometimes walk you through like best practices of how to do email marketing. Same with something like Printful. Printful has a lot of really good promotional marketing tools. Yeah. And, the account is free. You can set up and start selling things on there for free. Merch is like, please have merch. And they kind of have like these little mini schools where they kind of walk through like how to promote your business online and stuff like that. So find the Blueprint is good. And then find platforms that do the things that you think that you would need, and get on their kind of like list and kind of look through their FAQs. But those emails, especially when you first sign up, they'll start sending you like kind of like how-tos and stuff like that. And then I think those would be the best. Other things get kind of like spammy after a while, like Social Media Today, stuff like that. Like that's really deep onto the industry side. But just in terms of like taking action, I feel like the ones I just mentioned are really good.
Yes, and I will second those because I use Sticker Mule a lot too.
Sticker Mule. I'm trying to think about I had some.
Well, if you guys are getting your season 1 Kickstarter rewards, I just sent those out. The stickers in there come from Sticker Mule. They don't pay me either. I just use them a lot because of the great sales, like she said. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Buttons that I got from Sticker Mule, like little they're not enamel, but they're like like acrylic pins. I have stickers. Like if I find it, I go to Canva and I'm like, I'm gonna design something right now because I can get 100 stickers for $29. And I think it's amazing. Stickers are like the business cards of this generation. So yes. I'm always pushing swag and stuff for even like very small business. You see people all the time with their own stickers. You have your own shirt. I see you're wearing a Cosplay Your Way shirt. So like get on creating it and on these sites where other people pay for it and you don't even have to touch it if you don't want to. It just gets sent to them. Very, very good idea.
Yes. Great tools. I love it.
I saw Dedrin's post. I was a model for
Yes. Shout out to Dedrin.
He's always calling me, asking like good questions. We talk very often and he makes me feel like I know what I'm talking about. So I appreciate that we're able to have these discussions very, very, as often as possible. I know I'm not always available, but I love being able to help. And Dedrin is like a definite mover and shaker in this community. Yeah. I mean, all of you guys are, all of us are. So it's just really cool to be like on this side of that, like in the end, of like so many people that are just doing the most and being cool in like this convention fandom world.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I feel like helping one another also keeps our own our knives sharpened in a way, right? Because it's like
Yes.
it's one thing to say I have this knowledge, but can I pass it on to someone else? That's the real test, right?
Exactly. Did you try that? Did it work? Okay, cool. Because like I will say the email thing all the time, but I don't have my own email list. But I know from work, and
it works.
That's the other thing. Like if I see it working for a big business or an agency I'm working with, like, and just I'm running it, like I'm paid to run it, but I'm just like, I know this will work. Like I can see this being accessible to other people. So, that's where I say it's kind of even keel. We use Constant Contact at work right now, which is pretty good. They get on my nerves sometimes, but for the most part, they do what they say they're going to do. They send out emails, and it just is, depending on what you're doing or selling, it's just very miraculous how easily that will turn into a profit or information or just like a follow-up contact from somebody.
Absolutely. Okay, so we talked about some of the tips to help with social media. You've also worked with a various amount of groups and companies as a social media and digital marketing specialist. What are 3 mistakes you often see businesses make when they're trying to market their brand or their product?
Okay. So I would say the first mistake is trying to do quantity of social media posts over quality. The algorithm, everybody hates it. And when it first, when Facebook first started, I don't even remember. Like I see posts from like 11 years ago, and I was like, what did Facebook even look like then? But the algorithm right now is not, unfortunate for Facebook specifically, not. It's just not as small business friendly as it could have been and should have been. Right now, we'll see how that plays out. But I see definitely more individual people's posts than I see any page posts. So I would say posting more does not necessarily mean that you're getting seen more. And a lot of people will stress themselves out because they think that, they have to hit like, you see those posts they're like, you have to post 6 times a day on Facebook and 12 times a day. And unless you are like me and like I'm getting paid by an outside force to maintain something like that. And even I am not posting that often for people, and I will let them know that that's not the case. That's a content creator like status of publishing. So that's people creating. And even on that case, a lot of those people have like a bank of content that they have created and are publishing over time. So don't get worked up with the numbers. Mistake number 1 is getting overwhelmed with having to post so much when there's still a chance you're not going to get seen. Focus on the quality of what you're posting out. Make sure it's meaningful. Make sure it has a good call to action. So when people see it, they know what to do with it, and it doesn't always have to be purchasing. Sometimes it can be, a discount or just look at this. And a lot of times with businesses, I guess that would be mistake number 2, which unfortunately is not really a mistake and it depends on the person, but thinking that organic at all is going to be your end game of getting people to take action. Organic social is, again, unfortunately kind of dying out. When you're scrolling through your Instagram, Facebook, Twitter's a different story. And of course, TikTok's a different story. But when you're scrolling through, you will see ads. See a lot of ads from people, and that's money put behind it. But you'll see probably, and Instagram's a little bit more likely to see some organic posts from a business, because a business doesn't necessarily stand out that much more than a person. It does, but it doesn't. And sorry, I don't know how to I don't want to dive too deep into that, but you can have a business account and your page is probably still going to be seen probably about the same, because it's, maybe a little bit less because they want you to spend money, but that shouldn't deter you from, if you have a business and actual way to make money, it should not deter you from making a business account, because you want to make sure people can link directly into that. And you need a business account to do that. So, but if you are just trying to do it purely organic, it's going to be very difficult because of the third mistake is not having some other way for people to either, find your website, find your information, or get something from your potential customer. You have to have an email gather, something to capture someone's email. I know I'm just going to call myself the email queen, I guess. I'm form goddess, magical form goddess, but like that's really what an email capture is. It's a form. So you have to have an email form to capture people's email and just maybe a little bit more information about them. Not a lot, because you don't want to scare them away, but definitely basically their email. If you have an Instagram, your Bitly link, I think if it doesn't go to like a YouTube or some sort of consistent thing where they can watch, it should go to somewhere that captures email, or there should be a pop-up on that link that says, hey, welcome. Like, they seem annoying, but they should be there, something to get people's email. You should have a website. You got to have a website. They're not that they're not that expensive right now, like a URL and stuff. Like, yeah, it is a little bit, but even a free form, like if you have a Google form page or a Google document that you make look pretty, that is your link, and you Bitly link to it, that's a website to me. Like something that has a little bit more information, that is your space that you own, that you can send people to and give them information. And a lot of people, they're just trying to use social media as their entire business. And it's not going to work, because social media's business is getting more people on social media, which means more people have the ability to draw attention away from the thing that you are doing. You want to, like how we're having a conversation, kind of like contained. You want to make a almost more private, contained space where just you are talking to your person. So I think those are 3 mistakes. And that kind of lined up with that. But, hopefully that will encourage people. It reminds me of kind of like the OnlyFans situation that keeps popping up. People are creating their OnlyFans, and of course it's a great way to get money, and to get paid. Same with like Patreon, stuff like that. But like they can decide at any particular day what they want to do and what their terms of services are, and if they want to pay you the same amount or not pay you the same amount. Honestly, anywhere on the internet can do the same thing. Shopify could decide like, well, we're actually going to take 20% instead of however much, 2%. But as long as you're paying attention to those things and are you shouldn't have to be too movable with it, but you're paying attention when you set those things up, and you know that you at least have that specific space that is yours. Just like anything else, we're all renting every space that we're realistically in real life, online. You kind of own certain things, but make sure you have that piece of real estate that you own and that supports the type of content that you're able to put out, so that if things do change, you may be able to have a more realistic conversation as like a customer than just like a tenant has with your online space. You can, if I'm in an apartment or renting, I can say like, oh yeah, this needs to be changed. Like they may do something on like a mass scale, but I'm just like, I really wish this window wasn't here. I wish it was there, or this would really be great, or I want to run a business out of here. And they're like, you can't do that. But if I have a house or even a business space, then those, the things that I ask for and the things that I'm doing, they're more familiar. And if I have a problem speaking to a landlord about a business situation versus a tenant situation, is going to be a completely different conversation, and they're maybe more open to helping. So, but claim your space wherever it is, and know that, make sure you have somewhere that is more uniquely yours.
Nice. That's some good advice to give a lot of our creators out there. My next question for you is, what techniques or strategies have you used to successfully grow your online audience as well as those of your clients?
So I would say for myself, it's sometimes a little surprising that I am not like asked to do stuff like this, because like that's cool. But your relationships really drive that. Making real life relationships, making lasting ones, even if they're, right now we're all very distant, but being very genuine, speaking very passionately and assuredly about the things that you know, and speaking about them as often as like pretty regularly is helpful. You always want to kind of look like like the professional or like the go-to person in your field. I cosplayed a lot when I was younger, but like realistically, like 10 years ago is when I really was like booming in cosplay and like spending lots of money on doing that and time. And I don't do it as much now just because of how my involvement is with cons and work and, life right now. But I'm still like, people still reach out and they're like, oh, this cosplayer. And I was like, yeah, I still do that. Like that's still on my resume, I guess. And that's great. But it's because I was so, I was very passionate about it. I was very supportive of other people doing it. And I was very consistent with it and I documented it. That's another thing. Make sure you're documenting the things that you want realistically to be known for. If you say you're an artist, but I've never seen you draw, then like, all right, that's cool. I believe you. But, people want to see like the proof of that. No one's ever asked me to show proof that I'm a cosplayer, but it's because I have like Instagram full of whatever pictures I managed to take. And, people saw me in person doing this and I've seen other people in person doing it. So just because I'm not, Instagram famous for it doesn't mean that I did not find a passion behind it. So I find that, documentation is very good, even if it's only for your own personal gain and your own personal growth and your own personal memories. Being genuine and when you are, talking with people and making relationships and showing that you are the, like a subject matter expert by being available when people need it, not all the time, your time is your time, but when you're able to be available, offer some things for free sometimes, or for very cheap. I used to do these like $5 marketing meetups where it was like $5. We meet up at challenges and drink wine and just like talk about social media or things like that. My maid cafe started out at $5. We had to raise the price because food. But, things like that were, they don't have to be, if you're able to do something like that passionately, it doesn't have to be expensive. But when you are doing something realistically for a job, you should be very like, be very strict and like know your worth of when you're doing something like professionally all the time. So be able to give it a little bit, to give people like a taste and understanding of it, but also know when to be very strict on the worth of what you're doing, because, everybody wants to you need to get paid for the things that you are doing. And if you're not able to give it free, and this is your livelihood, then we need to understand in this time we live in that is people's livelihood. Sometimes you have to pay for things. But of course, like then you get into like the market value of all this, like all that sort of stuff. So you have to be kind of savvy in that front. But I feel like I've seen a lot of companies that, they have the passion, they have a really great aesthetic, but they may not be quite like market friendly, or they're not like, they're appealing more to themselves when they have a more like a product that probably should have a little bit more input from the customer. I don't really have a good example of that as of right now, but because art is kind of subjective and should be, it's the worth of who the person says it's worth. But you have to be really open about what your customers and clients want, and you have to know like your audience, kind of like know your audience, so that you're not trying to give them something that they're like, well, we didn't really ask for that, but like that's cool, but like we wouldn't really pay for it, or that's not what we're looking for. I was hoping this would come back up. Mason said, how do you recognize your actual audience? Feels like sometimes you are presenting to the void hoping to be seen. This is very hard because sometimes you are doing that. A lot of times you're probably doing that. Not you, but like we are doing that. And I do think it comes back to what does you have to look at when you're ready to make something professional and make something like your career, you have to know what your client wants. You have to ask questions. Like all these big businesses, they have teams of market researchers and all this stuff that they do, but you have to be able to ask questions of people like, well, why do you need the thing? You know, if you went to this person, why do you use this brand? Or, you know, what do you like about what this person does? And if I could change what I was doing, how would that be better? And then look at your own internal process. One thing I learned was, again, to be very as organized as I could, using things like Airtable, or, you know, start with Excel sheets, and now it's Airtable. I love Airtable. To create processes for myself, because I was finding like, okay, I'm really bad with following up with people, or I'm really bad at keeping consistent with like my own calendar. So like, what do I need to do to make sure I'm doing that? Because I've already recognized that I'm a bad boss to myself. So then it's like, okay, what do other people need from me, and what do they usually ask? And how do I update? Can I do that? Can I give that to people? Is that something I'm willing to do? Or am I really just doing this as maybe like a side project, and I don't really care what other people think? I just want to do this when I want to do this. And that's a kind of hard conversation to have, because you want to be able to sell and do what you want to do, but you are not the one buying. You are the one selling. So what does the person spending the money want? And that's, again, research, questions, and just keep knowing that you're building the best process for yourself and your customers. Ichigami. What are the top 3 platforms you recommend for new creatives? Ooh. Okay, let's see. Email. I guess, okay. I realistically would say this is hard. This is very hard, because I don't necessarily want to recommend social. I know the question is probably social, but like I would definitely recommend a website, whether that's you know, Squarespace or like wherever, WordPress maybe, but at least a page, a web page, something that has some detail about you, maybe a couple pictures, things like that, something static that people can go to. And then after that, I think Instagram still has a lot of bearing on, has a lot of visibility. I think it's very versatile for anything from a tech industry to a, you know, to artists and all things in between, government, you know, nonprofits. I think that Instagram is a very, very good source of like a really good social media platform. It's still taken very seriously. Other companies want to have a better presence there. So, and you can do a lot of really cool things with Instagram Grid that almost kind of make it like your own website, where you don't have to be too consistent all the time. But you can like lead people there. Like imagine like a cute little like 3x4 grid where you have like a, you know, some pictures all together. You see it all the time. BTS, look at BTS's Instagram, and they don't post that often, I don't think, or at least I don't see it. But like if there's an event or something, like they structure that's kind of cool. And that would, you know, graphic designers are great with that. I'm not a graphic designer. Graphic designers are the bomb. If you have a graphic designer or you are one, you rock. But putting together something cool like that, even through Canva or something, is sometimes enough to just have that visible space. And depending on the type of creative, I would say Twitter. Definitely have a Twitter, because I don't say definitely have a Twitter, but Twitter is good. Twitter is good for artists, I think, and people who have very consistent written content, or like news or updates and things like that. I think that's really good. Twitter also links to YouTube. Oh, I took out to, okay, it's going to be, so the website is, I'm going to say that's like a free space. This is the website. Dang, this is a hard question because they all kind of link. YouTube is also really good, but if you can't do YouTube, then maybe Twitch. So like you should have a video platform, a long form video platform, if you can do that sort of content. You should have Instagram, because it's a very visual, static social media space. I guess that was 3. And then like Twitter, maybe, because you can share content from any of those pretty consistently in a very open space. And that's what I really like about things like, I'm pretty sure with Twitter, like you don't need a Twitter account to be on, to really scroll through Twitter unless they've changed that. Like Instagram, you like scroll 2 times and they make you log in. Facebook, same thing. YouTube, you do not need, I don't think, an account to look on YouTube for things. So you want to be where your art and your presence is going to be at least one of your locations as accessible as possible. Facebook would be at the very bottom of the list, I would say, because you have to, again, have an account to be on Facebook. There is a whole generation, maybe 2 now, of people who are not on Facebook. So you are excluding a lot of people who are not the standard 25 to 35-year-old millennials / 50 to 75, I think is like that break. So you want to be as accessible as possible. So what I say, Twitter, no, I said YouTube or Twitch for long form content, definitely Instagram and maybe Twitter. I would say TikTok is right above Facebook because TikTok to me is very distracting, but I also believe it is, it's growing to be a better space for calls to action to take place and to drive people to actually make a sale or do certain things. I think if you are a company that needs influencers and you are trying to influence a generation and a group of people, I think that you should connect with people on TikTok to like have your art and your things seen there if you can't do it yourself. And have a strategy kind of like that, where you're like, hey, I know these people who like, I see them on Instagram, they also do TikTok, and like, I want to send them a shirt or a sticker or something like that. Do that and have them create the content for you for like a freebie or something. That may sound like a very like high-end influential marketing or influencer marketing thing, but I think that works really well, but without you having to actually have one. But yeah, for me, and I am a millennial, I will admit, I don't wear skinny jeans, and I also don't side part, but like, I feel like, I do side part, see, but this is a wig. I don't even know what Gen Z is gonna say about BuzzFeed Gen Z. It's gonna say about wigs, but
BuzzFeed Gen Z.
But like, having one is great, like I said, if you can maintain it, and it's really fun to use. It's very fun to use, but that's really the case with any of these fun to use sort of things, is they can turn very ad centric and overbearing very quickly. And I would say also, like, just kind of aside, be on the lookout for, I can't remember what it's called, but there was someone making kind of like a LinkedIn for creatives. And I have found in my professional career that LinkedIn, like, just like rarely, like occasionally posting on LinkedIn, making and engaging with certain people is helpful, because you're seen if you're like really in the market for a new job or visibility, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be all the time. And I've seen, and I do follow a lot of artists, cartoonists, animators, and people who kind of straddle both lines of convention or art, gaming, competitive and otherwise, and creation on LinkedIn. Do I think it wields like sales and like a lot of really visual like engagement? No, not really. But I think it's an interesting place to make sure you have an account, it's updated, and using some of your artistic passions, tying that into some of your professional abilities. I definitely put MomoCon and DragonCon on my resume, and it gets talked about every time I have an interview, and people recognize it, or people find, that information is valid to my experience. So I wouldn't say it's in that top 3 list, maybe not even top 4, but it's definitely somewhere that you want to keep consistent throughout your career, I would say.
That's good advice. I forgot about LinkedIn. Yeah, that is a good place.
Right.
I've seen folks have success there as well. Alrighty. Well, we already are close to the end of the hour. We didn't even get to. It's
Okay,
so
great.
great.
I'll stop answering.
The audience has brought so many good questions that
Yes.
we didn't even cover it. What 10% of our the questions?
Oh no,
No, it's good. I mean,
but that's good. That just shows how much the audience really wanted to hear this.
Yes, I knew this was going to be a good one, so I was really happy we were able to get you. Let's see. Okay, so one thing people should know is that you do offer consulting, right? Consulting services. So what can some creators expect working with you and leveraging those services?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So again, I'm always building my process. So if you go to, I think my page has where you can fill out a form and it'll give you like access to me from peachymade.com, peachymade.com. I will definitely talk through for at least a half hour to an hour about what you're already doing, where you feel like your strongest is with, your strong suits are with marketing, what's already going well, and then things that you want to do better at, and kind of dive into some possibilities from there. So kind of a lot like what we talked about now, where I was giving some advice on things, but I will actually look at, the general conversation will just be like, okay, well, if you're in this industry, this is what I recommend. And some places to get some more, maybe a little bit of homework of what to do, how to post, where to look for inspiration, what other people are doing in the industry, and how to kind of like take quick, immediate action. And then I also offer a website and social media audit that is, again, looking at anything that you have. If you don't have a website, looking at that would be a mark if you did not. But you're looking at your website and just overall kind of grading it for you and saying, here are some things that I would recommend that you do a little bit more of or focus on. Here are some things I see that you're doing really well, but maybe, switch it over. Maybe even like, here's something that like you're doing it. I don't see a lot of return from it, but it seems like it's working for you. Maybe try to duplicate that over here as well. So yeah, that's kind of it. And when I do consulting, like right now, I kind of do it on a almost like donation basis, because we're all just out here, trying to do what we do. And talking to someone for an hour, I love talking. So, I will offer like, if maybe at least, I think I have it priced at like minimum $5, and then you would let me know what you got out of it, and then just donate whatever the rest is after that. But then the actual audit is, there's a set price for that. I think it's like $50, because it's a little bit deeper dive and I may need some logins, things like that. But I think it's a really great start to see a visual representation of like where you grade. And there's like, more one-on-one time with that person versus maybe trying to do an audit online and you don't know the person and stuff like that.
Okay. Now, one last question before we get ready to end the show. What can our listeners look forward to in 2021 and beyond from you and your brands?
Man, I really wish I knew 100% because this year and last year have been so crazy and it's so sad. And I kind of just got like a big twang of like emotion, because on one hand, I don't know. What do I want to happen is, DragonCon and MomoCon, of course, happening. I want that. I don't have any information that I can share or that I even really know about the status of that, because there's so much that goes into making sure, that information is up to date and reliable. And that they're doing the best that they can. And we're in a different phase of COVID right now. So we don't know.
Yes.
So I would hope that would be the case, that we would be able to put on a show in person. If we can't do that, last year I was so excited to be part of planning the virtual show. And while unfortunately virtual shows just like, they don't hit the same way, There was a lot of really good communication and contact with some cool guests from around the country. The Animaniacs guests were part of, that was being revived and coming back. Like they were part of the DragonCon virtual. We had some, who was like the big thing? MomoCon had some pretty cool guests as well, and just programming in general. But so I'm hoping that we are able to do, if not an in-person event, something still really cool virtually to keep that, kind of fire going until we can be in person again. I would love within this year or next year to do another maid cafe. And I'm actually like weird about the term maid, M-A-I-D, because like it just doesn't, it's a cute idea and it works really well in Japan. And it's like works good for what we're doing here, but like that's why I changed M-A-D-E, because I'm trying to do more still like the pop-up and not necessarily strict cosplay, but like a really cool, just like feel good fandom cafes and meetup experiences. I know we're gonna need that when we're able to all safely meet in person again. So I'd love to do that more. And but then for my own personal brand, I am always just trying to be more consistent online. Right now with my day job, without giving out too much information, but like we're in the midst of really helping people to get the COVID-19 vaccine in our county. And that is literally a full-time job. And the goal is to make sure like that's what we're doing. I'm trying to push forward with this. More and more I'm learning about the inner workings of some politics in our county, in our state. And I would love to make more getting into politics or understanding how to help people more visual. And I would love to kind of change the face of what people think of when they look at technology in different generations, technology in different fields, specifically in politics. So you'll definitely see, that's probably gonna look like me in a lot of different cute outfits, bragging about making forms and putting together and sending emails and hopefully supporting some other friends who are in their endeavors for politics and broadcasting and things like that, because there's definitely a huge need for events, but on a separate kind of side, there's a huge need for newer faces and newer ideas and innovation in the entire political scene and the local scene and the local government scene. And I want to kind of help to move that forward. So I go to work like this. Like I have, it's like a galaxy color. I've posted pictures of this, this look on LinkedIn because, that's where I go to work. And if I'm going to work like this, I'm taking bathroom selfies. I am the one putting together a lot of these processes. And so again, that's changing the face of what people probably think is actually happening in a lot of these, government and local and, more, I guess, blue collar agencies or white collar. I don't know what color it is. I'm wearing blue and white collar. So I would like that. So I would like to, push for the safety of opening and getting to see a lot of people back in person, because we need it. We need the vitamin D. We need even the introverts need it. We need that real life connection. And then showing that this is a generation that's ready for innovation and change, and to stop this crazy, bigoted BS and outdated information that is happening across the country, but definitely in Georgia. So we're doing better, but again, changing that face and encouraging more people to also do the same thing. So yeah,
amazing.
So just a shout out from Mike Watson, thanking you for all the information. And he loves seeing women of color out here owning the showroom floor of geekdom.
Yes. We're doing it. Take that, people who called us white when we were growing up. Like, listen.
Yes.
I know, not to go, not all of us, but that's been a thing. But yeah, we're definitely taking the space and being visible in the space. And I'm so thankful that you have this show and you're showing that we are more than what people called us when we were the geeky outsiders when we started this. So we're making moves for the future girls who are doing this too. And we are showing that we are we are the future for some of the people who still want to act like
we ain't worth nothing. Yeah.
Like we ain't worth nothing from their basements. So
yeah.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you both of you, Dana and Moana, for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure, and you've shared so much knowledge with us. And I know this is going to be a popular episode on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm asked for a copy so I can put on my YouTube. So I'll have
yes. Alrighty. Well, so thank you everybody for listening and tuning in. Whether you were live or on the replay, we love y'all. Thank you for coming by. Be sure to check out Renee at peachymade.com. That's her website. She's been preaching about it. You can find all her things there. You can book her there. And you can find out what she's up to in that space. For us on the podcast, you can find us at moananuipodcast.com. We are also on YouTube at bit.ly/MoanaNuiTube is the quick link to get there. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can you don't miss all of our great content, and share it around with your friends so that we can get the word out to more people.
And also follow us on Twitch. We're also on Twitch, so you can see us on Twitch. And definitely, if you loved what you heard today with Renee, once again, March, we're going to be doing the Kickstarter for season 3. Renee, it's the start of our season 3 content. So that way you can get a copy of everything you've been hearing on season 3 from all of our guests for you to refer back to. And even if you really love this, support our Kickstarter, and we could probably do more with Renee since you really enjoy what she's talking about here on the show. So definitely follow us on all those platforms. Moana mentioned, follow Renee on her platforms, and definitely definitely support us on our Kickstarter starting in March.
Yep. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much again. Take care, be safe, and we will talk to you guys soon. Aloha.
Hey.